Alrighty folks, back with another new album review, and today we have Find a Non-Glare Spot, Helms Deep, Chasing the Dragon. This is non-glare spot around here somewhere. Alrighty. So this is the second album from this Florida outfit. I'm going to have to annoyingly hold this up so that YouTube will give me a thumbnail that shows the CD in it. So yeah, this is the second album from these guys out of Florida. They formed in 2017. This is their follow-up album to 2023's Treacherous Ways. You got Alex Sciortino on vocals and guitar. They were just a trio on their debut album. They added a guy named DeTone on guitar, and then you have John Gallagher from Raven on bass and backing vocals. Now him and DeTone played on Assault on South America with Paul Di'Anno's Killers way back in 1990. So I'm assuming that John brought him in. But oddly enough, I can only find these two albums with Ray ever playing on them. So I don't know, maybe he's a guitar teacher, maybe he's a producer, I don't know what else he does. But yeah, good guitar work on this album throughout from both Ray and Alex. And then new drummer Hal Aponte. He's also in a prog metal band called Ice Age. I don't know anything about them. Now if I can do this, look at this glare, it's killing me. The artwork is done by a guy named Bob Eggleton, and I mean, he's a fairly famous science fiction artist. It seems to me that I've seen this artwork before. That dragon in space with the jetpack looks familiar. So I don't know if this is original artwork, because it definitely looks like I've seen that before. So anyway, your first track, you get the Asian influenced, speaking of dragons, song called Wing Chun. Everybody have fun tonight. Everybody Wing Chun tonight. And you get Alex on the pipa, which is like a Chinese lute. Ray is on the virtual Yang Qin, which is like a dulcimer, or in the dulcimer family. Then Liang Wu is on the erhu, which is the two-stringed vertical fiddle. I'm sure you've seen played before. And then Hal is on the gong. A lot of instrumentation for a 30-second intro. Then that goes right into Black Sephiroth. You get this cool bass war drum type intro. Actually sounds similar to something you might have heard on Senjutsu. Goes right into a smoking guitar solo. Good fast-paced rocker. Plenty of solos. You get plenty of guitar solos in here. You get a little bass solo in here. You get a little drum solo in here. Nice lead-off track. Then your title track is your next one, another speedy one. Relentless drumming on this one, and you got Alex really stretching his vocal cords on here. He's, I wouldn't say he sounds like Rob Halford, but I would say that stylistically he sings like Rob Halford, if that makes any sense. Craze of the Vampires, your next track. Good punchy number, lots of nice guitar harmonies in this one. You get another smooth bass solo in this one. Cursed is your next one. This is good 80s style power metal type rocker. a la Omen, Liege Lord. That's where these guys kind of fit in. Or Attacker, whose debut album happened to be called Battle at Helms Deep. More tasty guitar harmonies in this one. Really good guitar work in this whole album. I mean, there's lots of soloing going on in this album. Fly to the Harpies, your next one. Get some really good nimble bass work on here from John. Lots of cool instrumentation on this one. They bring in some chimes, some glockenspiel. It's a very musical album. Lots of different instruments brought in besides just your guitar, drums, and bass. Lots of chord changes in the album too. Lots of chord changes. But, you know, they keep you on your toes because this album is a long one. It's almost an hour long. Frozen Solids, your next track. Blistering Chugger. Get ear-piercing vocals out of Alex on this one. Lightning fast guitar work. In and out. This is the shortest track, and it's 4 minutes long. Necessary Evil is your next one. Another scorcher, driving drums, piercing vocals, lots of fire guitar on this one. That's followed up by Red Planet. You get a slow, doomy intro before you get into the chug, but then you get these dancing guitar riffs. There's some groovy bass fills behind those dancing riffs. There's a swinging drum playing going on with this one. Nice trade-off solos. Different sounding track than the others, but it's still a really good track. You even get a theremin at the end of this one. Speaking of different instruments on the album. Seven Circles, your next track. Now this is your 10th track on here. Starting to sound a little similar to a couple of the other tracks. It is saved though by some excellent guitar playing. Not a whole lot in the way of lyrics or vocals on this track. I would say 50% of it's just soloing and musical breaks and the like. And then your last track is called Shiva's Wrath. It's a 7-minute, little over 7-minute instrumental. Speaking of instrumentation, you get there's a steel string acoustic guitar in here, 12-string acoustic, Dan Electro sitar, finger cymbals, keyboards, the glockenspiel makes a comeback, the gong makes a comeback, and you have a guy named Cliff Hackford playing the tabla on here. So lots of Asian influence on this album. It's not real overt though, it's very tastefully done. But I am going to give this one 8.25 out of 10. I think it's really close to being an 8.5 out of 10. I think really what probably drags it down a little bit is that it's too long. I mean, 57 minutes. It's probably closer to 58 minutes. Is a really long album. I will say that it doesn't really drag. Maybe, like I said, about Seventh Circle. It's starting to sound a little similar. I can't really bag on the 7-minute instrumental for an outro because I love when bands do long instrumentals for a final track on the album. But it does tend to run a little long. I bet you they could have taken about 3 songs out of here, cut it down by about 15 minutes, and I think it would have been an easy 8.5. I just think it runs a little long. But the vocals were excellent. The guitar playing excellent. Bass work excellent by John Gallagher. Really good sounding album. Really like what these guys are putting out. Two great albums back to back. So we got hoping for good things from these guys in the future. Helms Deep. Get out of here, Claire. Helms Deep, Chasing the Dragon, 8.25 out of 10. You guys have a good one.